and gentlemen, and welcome to the Tuesday, March 12th, 2024 School Committee meeting here at Tyngsborough PDC. My name is Anthony Tenerelli. I officially call this meeting to order, and I will start with introductions to my left.
Becky Stanton.
Mike Woodlock, Assistant Superintendent.
Hi, Mike Flanagan, Superintendent.
Danielle Athanas.
Rob Mullen.
Good evening, Joe Messina, Business Administrator.
If I could ask everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the February 27th Budget Subcommittee minutes and School Committee minutes.
So moved.
I would be happy to second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That carries 4-0. Citizens' time? Seeing none. Correspondence?
Not at this time,
None
Mr.
at
Chair.
this time. Personnel, notification of resignation, Robert Morrell, TMS custodian for 3 years of service. Thank you, Mr. Morrell. And good luck. Share the success. Barry is not with us this evening. So we will move on to subcommittee evaluation. I guess as the chair of that committee, I'll comment. We had a meeting this evening. It went very well. So we looked at Dr. Flanagan's goals and where we stand today, and more to come on that. So you're welcome. Unfinished business. Dr. Flanagan.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll start with our upcoming meetings. Next week is a week for some of us. We have negotiations with Unit A. It'll be a second negotiation session on the 19th, which is next Tuesday. Next Wednesday night, we have a regular scheduled school building committee meeting. The following Monday, March 25th, will be the tri-board meeting and our FY25 budget presentation to the Select Board and Finance Committee. I believe we are scheduled to go that night with both Innovation Academy and Greater Lowell. So all three public schools in the town will present. Then we have a school committee the following night, March 26th, and then again, another negotiation session on March 28th. March 28th will be the third negotiation session. By the third one, all proposals have to be on the table. So that's what's coming up for the rest of the month in March. As we jump into our MSBA update, we did hit a milestone last week that the power is officially live to the school. So generators are no longer needed. So that's a big milestone for the project, and something that Fontaine was very excited about to share that information with us, so that's all good. We had an opportunity yesterday, and we'll show you a picture of that in a minute, but we were able to take the middle school staff through in 2 different waves yesterday so they could actually walk through and see the school, and it was great to see some of the progress that was being made. The stairwell to Building A, the interior stairs are up. Building C, they'll be putting the stairs in next week. Building A, it's really all about framing right now, framing out the classrooms on the first floor, which is exciting. Subgrade work continues in Building B. Plumbing and electrical rough-in is continuing, ongoing. They're making a lot of progress. I will say that on Monday, they were here set, ready to continue the roofing on the gym, but given the high winds, they weren't able to put anyone on the roof and or use any of the equipment, the lift equipment, because once it gets over 30 miles per hour, OSHA doesn't allow you to use that equipment, so they had to shut that down. So lost a little bit of a day on Monday, but able to, they're still in great shape and ahead of schedule. Big upcoming milestone will also be on March 20th. On March 20th, JCJ will be on site. And basically what they'll do at that point is they will meet with teacher representatives from traditional classroom or core classrooms and really talk about what the furniture setup will be and what a mock-up classroom will look like. Then they'll meet with specialist teachers like the art teacher or the STEM teacher or the band teacher and all those one-off programs to really talk about their space and their needs and what their plan is for that. They'll meet with the counselors, they'll meet with administration, they'll meet with central office as a team, as well as IT and tech. So a lot of ongoing work, and March 20th will be a great day for teachers to, I hope, see some visuals and have some further dialogue about what their classroom will look like. And that's the MSBA update. And here are some pictures from yesterday's tour. Again, the feedback was great. You can see those are the interior stairs on A going upstairs. The teachers were excited about it. You know, I think we'd prefaced the tour with, No decisions have been made about which hallway is going to be grade 6, 7, or 8 yet. That's still up in the air. One thing that we do know definitively is on Building A downstairs, that will be the arts, STEM, Unified Arts wing downstairs on the first floor. But the 6, 7, 8 wing are identical, and we just haven't made a determination yet as to what's going to be where. So it was great because Mr. Woodlock and I were able to hold the signs up, and the teachers were able to see a pile of dirt and what it's going to evolve to. So it was a cool tour. I think they enjoyed it. So that's where we are at the MSBA at this point.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Flanagan. Moving on to teaching and learning, Mr. Woodlock.
Yes, thank you. So I've referenced this a couple of school committee meetings in a row. We are required by the Department of Education to create a Student Opportunity Act, as are all districts in Massachusetts. We have to renew this every 3 years, and every year we have to do an annual check-in with the department. District plans identify where data reveals disparities in student learning opportunities and outcomes for student groups. This won't be a surprise to any of you. These are things that we've been talking about throughout the year. I think you'll understand that as I get a little bit deeper in. But one of the things that's really important is we are required to have our Student Opportunity Act submitted to our school committee for approval. So the draft of the Student Opportunity Act, all 9 pages of it, is in the backup. And so I would kindly ask that, I'll go through some of the main points tonight, but I would kindly ask that over the next 2 weeks, you take a look at it. If you have any questions or concerns, anything at all that you see in there that you'd like me to speak about the next meeting, please let me know, and you'll get that to us in advance, and I'll have answers and information for you. But we are required to submit it by April 1st, so I'll have to do a quick turnaround on any edits that need to happen at that point. Again, I think that a lot of the information that you're going to see in there is going to look really familiar to you. So a couple of just brief points about what's included in there. We're required to identify focal areas that are designated by DESE, and there's a whole number of them, but we're required to identify at least one that we're going to specifically focus on. So the focus area identified is 1.2, implement a multi-tiered system of support. This work is already underway here. You've heard us talking about this for 2 years now. But this is a long process. It does take time, and there are a lot of moving parts. So MTSS, as we've talked about, is both academically and for social, emotional, behavioral well-being. It's to support Tier 1 environments and make sure that we're giving our teachers the necessary materials, funding, staffing, everything that they need to be fully ready to support students in a Tier 1 environment. Our subcategory, effective student support systems, implement key systems to build an effective approach to MTSS. I'll talk about that as we go forward here. As stated in the definition of the SOA plan, we're tasked with identifying specific areas to focus on, as well as specific subgroups of our student population. This is what I'm talking about when I said we've talked about this before. There are a number of different categories that we're to look at, but when we've gone through our data, which we've talked about at previous meetings, we've identified a few really key spots where we think we can make improvement here. This is a spot where we're either right at state average or potentially slightly below in some categories, and that's not where we want to be for Tyngsborough. So we think we can make improvements in these areas, and they are chronic absenteeism, and we had a lengthy discussion about that. And it's specific chronic absenteeism when we look at our subgroups as our high needs population, and specifically our English learner subgroup. We also identified disparities in achievement on our ELA MCAS test specifically for special education and high needs students. But again, this changes slightly as we look at all the different grade levels of MCAS as well. In some areas, we're doing okay in these categories, and some we're doing better. But overall, we had to pick some categories and certain subgroups where we think we can make the most improvement, and we already have been focusing some of our assets there, and that's what we'll continue to do. So specific to ELA MCAS and Math MCAS, those are kind of where we're going to focus. And again, ongoing, but still, these are big target areas, and there's a lot of work to be done there. So that's the end of my slides. Again, there's 8 pages of this. A lot of it you've already seen. But again, if you could take a look at it in the interim between the 2 meetings, let me know if there's anything you want me to follow up on, and I'm happy to do so. Any questions on the SOA process, anything at all? All right.
No.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. New business.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Under Section 9, we actually have 3 items that we're going to need some school committee direction and hopefully action on tonight. One is, it's kind of an annual thing. Each year, we are required per Massachusetts general law to take a formal vote as to whether or not we want to participate in school choice. Historically, this committee made a decision probably 20, 25 years ago to say, yes, we'd want to do that. And looking at our current enrollment, one of the things that we've done as of late, we really haven't opened any seats at our elementary school. And I think it's smart for us to continue to not do that. The number of new registrations that Mrs. Kavanaugh sees, I think last week when Ryan was on a tour, we heard about 4 or 5 new registrations just last week. So there's so much fluctuation in the elementary school that we want to keep that kind of closed. But looking at our upper grades, where we typically see less or fewer registrations, as we start to think about our numbers for next year, we think it makes sense to offer 7 openings in grade 7, 15 openings in grade 9, 15 openings in grade 10, 10 in grade 11, and 10 in grade 12. I will say right now that the number of students that we have in all of those grades ranges from 106 to 118. So none of those would put us, certainly out of compliance or over the limit or everything we can handle here as a district. So these are typically about what we offer each year. We usually have 1 grade at the middle school that has some openings, and usually at the high school, we have several grades that can handle some openings. So we just need a motion or answer. Happy to answer
Yeah.
any questions, but then we would need a motion and approval.
Yeah, just one question. How many of these openings actually get filled each year? Do we have a lot of?
We've never run out of openings in the past several years. So if we have 10 seats, we may get 6 kids, but it's never gotten to the point we've hit 10 and we're turning kids away.
So we have 57 openings and we'll probably never fill those.
25, maybe,
Okay.
25, 30.
Any other questions for Dr. Flanagan on this? All those good. So I will seek a motion to approve the participation in the school choice program for 2024-2025 school year.
So moved?
And I will second.
No discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That carries 500. And welcome, Mr. Bowe.
Thank you.
9B.
Academic calendar, the draft academic calendar, I did work with the union leadership on this calendar. It is similar, very similar to this year. There is one noted difference, and I think this came with much conversation and deliberation. If you look, typically we start the school year and we have 3 days of school because we go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they have Friday off before Labor Day. Then the next week we have 4 days of school. We go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Then we go 5 days of school. So we ease into it 3, 4, 5. Next year, we are proposing to go 3, 3, 5. And the reason we want to go 3, 3, 5 is because September 3rd is an election day. So I don't think it makes a lot of sense to have Friday off, Monday off, and then come back on Tuesday for an early release day, knowing that our cafeterias are polling places. So it makes sense, if we're going to have a long weekend, let's extend the long weekend, give parents and families that additional day, and we'll come back on a full day of school on that Wednesday. So we'll go 3, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, then into a full week of school the following week. That is one significant change to the calendar. Other than that, it is pretty straightforward. I do look at the December break. Again, you could look at this differently. I know that there will be districts that do it 2 different ways. Some districts will come back on January 2nd, which is a Thursday. Some districts are going to extend that and not come back till Monday, January 6th. We are going to capitalize on coming back January 2nd, so I think that's enough time away from school and probably get back into some routines and systems here. So that was the conversation that was had there. The only other modification or change to this was we did move the early release date in January from Wednesday to Thursday, and that's to really accommodate parent conferences at the elementary school. So easier for the teachers to have those conferences on Thursday and not have a long week after that. So that seemed to make more sense. So that's where we are. Otherwise, we're looking at last day of school, February 13th, contingent upon snow and weather. And
February 13th?
did I say February? Real short year next year. Yep. I figure that's enough. How about June
that's
13th? Let's try June 13th next year, be the last day of school. So, been a long day, so. So we'll keep until June, parents, don't worry.
Tuesday.
So that's the draft calendar.
All right, awesome. So I'll seek a motion to approve the proposed 2024-2025 academic calendar.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That carries 5-0. Facility usage review, 9C.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you know, we had preliminary discussions with town administration about putting together a meeting to really talk about our facility usage. And Mr. Woodlock and Mr. Messina led that meeting last week, so I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Messina to kind of lead us through the conversation, because there's a financial component that goes with this, and Mr. Messina has been part of this history and facility usage for a long time. So it's yours, Mr. Messina.
Thank you, Dr. Flanagan. So as the superintendent mentioned, we did have a preliminary meeting with the town manager. And basically what started this, a reason for this conversation is in order to not profit in any way from the rec department's youth programs that are being held at our schools, we typically only will charge them for a custodian when we bring that custodian in. And for a number of years, we've been using a blended rate of average custodial overtime. So this current time, we're billing out at $30 an hour. And due to the staffing, we've actually reduced that custodial staff by 2 people last year. The average custodial overtime rate right now is $31.42. So every time the rec department comes in for an outside function, we're billing less than what it's costing you to hire that custodian. Similarly, we are not charging or attempting to recoup any of the costs to have the buildings open. When we have the buildings open Saturdays and Sundays, we're heating it, we're lighting it. There are paper goods being used in the restrooms. There's a cost to have people in the building, and we're not recouping this. So we met with Colin, and we just pointed out, first of all, that the custodial rate's not working. The idea that the buildings are open while the custodians are trying to clean isn't really a good concept, because again, the staffing is to the point where the custodians in the building are cleaning various parts of the building, not hosting groups that come in. So we talked about the additional need about bringing people in every time the rec department is using the buildings. We also talked about some cost share in terms of the fields. And again, the fields are rented through the rec department. I found out in this meeting that the youth groups, they do not charge for the field rentals, but a lot of times, certainly this time of year, they want the lights on for that. And again, a cost to the school committee that we're not recouping, because we were never looking to profit off of the youth groups in town. But again, we really don't like the idea of supplementing the educational budget for the youth groups that are here. So it started basically with Colin to start with the rec department programs, and then we will go beyond that and look at some of the youth groups when they're coming into the buildings as to what the true cost is, and ensure that we're not supplementing their programs with your educational dollars, because that's not really what those dollars are designed for.
So I think you hit the nail on the head as we look at, 2.7% increase every year. As we look at reducing staff, we need to put everything on the table and say, how can we do everything we can to protect the integrity of the classroom environment? So, again, not looking to make money, but in the same breath, not looking to subsidize. And how can we protect every dollar in this district and spend it for educational needs? So I think right now, we don't have a formal proposal process or anything to go forward, but we did want to get in front of the committee and say, these are conversations we're having, and we would like maybe some support from the committee to say, yes, continue in this conversation and give us an update, or no, we're not interested in having that conversation, let's continue with where we are. So we just kind of put it back on the committee.
I do have a couple of questions, Mr. Messina.
Try to answer.
I'm a parent, I'm at home, and I just hear you say it's costing us an extra $1.40. How many an hour? How many hours, and you probably don't know this off the top of your head, but how many hours are we talking about a week, a month?
So for the rec department, right at this moment with basketball going on, we're probably talking about 12-hour days on Saturdays and Sundays. And that's the average rate. The high rate is $39.66. The low is 25 and change. So again, when the more seasoned workers are working that,
It's more expensive.
it's more expensive. So 24 hours between the 2 days, and again, not trying to recoup any of the cost of the paper goods being
Okay.
used,
Yep.
or the fact that, we're having the buildings open on the weekends.
And I think to that point as well, I think it's also important to put out there that, the rec department is responsible really for basketball and softball. Baseball is its own entity. Youth soccer is its own entity. Football, wrestling, lacrosse, those are all separate programs. The other part of this conversation that happened the other day was each one of those directors reaches out specifically to Sharon Fairbanks, who is working for the school department, but spending time managing the facility calendar, managing those calls and things like that. So we're looking at having conversations, and I guess very productive the other day, to really streamline that as well. And how can we work closer with the rec department to share facility usage calendar and those types of things. Additionally, the cost of lights and paint and clay for the fields and time and mowing, and it all needs to, we need to figure out what it's costing and really kind of do everything we can to protect the money so it goes to the classroom. But
And then my only other thing, that's, I guess, really not a question, but contractually, we have to have our custodians here. So there's no way around that if the building's open.
I would say not only contractually, but in the best interest of our assets.
Of our,
we need to
yes,
have a custodian
absolutely,
there.
yes.
And we do, for most of the other events, again, when we are charging, with the exception of the rec, contractually, we have to pay the custodians the $40 an hour. It becomes more of an issue when the perception is the building's open, and, I can just come in because the building's open. It's like, I understand we've done that in the past, but as the educational dollars get tighter and everything's going up on the other side, paper goods have gone up substantially, where we've discussed utilities and what they do. We're not open with the expectation that people in groups are gonna come in. So that's the, more discussions we need to have with the other youth groups.
All right, very good. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, are we using any type of software to allow potential users to schedule themselves to potentially take at least a bit of a load off of Ms. Fairbanks?
So they are using a software at the rec department for the fields. During our discussions, that we were actually, Ms. Fairbanks and Ms. Palumbo and Allison Page were talking about the schools having access to that software, and if it's something we can develop for scheduling the facilities as well as the fields, we'll certainly attempt to utilize that.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, at this time, I'll take a motion to authorize Tyngsborough Public Schools Administration to work with the town administration to update our facility usage process and billing.
Mr. Chair, is this something that we need a motion on or just a verbal?
Yeah. Well, that's a good question.
It's, so
I would say,
I think informal's fine.
Informal's
We just
fine,
want to get a
yes.
sense of where the committee is.
Okay.
I'm in favor of this.
I'm in agreement with reevaluating it, and also, I do think there's a perception, as you've said, Mr. Messina, in town, that the schools are just open. Why can't we just use the schools? But there is a cost to that, and I think it's important that we do that analysis and have those discussions with our town administration.
I'm also in favor of this for the exact reasons that have already been stated. I think that fair use and making sure that everybody is on equal footing is the right thing to do.
Agreed.
Same as well.
So we have full support.
That's all we need.
So,
All right.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And right back to you, Mr. Messina, on finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For signing of bills, 12 warrants were presented tonight. I have them back all approved. As always, warrant numbers, accounts, and amounts are in the drive, and there is no payroll tonight. We'll do that at our next meeting.
All right, thank you. School committee discussion, Mr. Bo.
I am all set, thank you.
I look forward to going to the Celebration of Us later this week. I think that's on Thursday. That's all I have.
Mr. Whitlock.
I'd echo that. Celebration of Us last year was amazing. I think it's great. A great way to showcase the different cultures and amazing diversity we have in Tyngsborough. So I'd love to see anyone show up there.
All right, thank you. Mr. Messina?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Well, I haven't been told that I'm going yet, but I'm sure I will be last second. So I'm kind of looking forward to it. But that's all I have this evening.
I would like to thank Mr. Messina for all the work that he's done, not just on the budget, but also working with the town on this facility usage project, and good luck on that endeavor.
Thank you.
Dr. Fleming?
So I've been checking my phone. I wish the news was better, but I do want to congratulate our girls' basketball team. They did lose in the state semifinals today, but an outstanding school year. I think they finished 22-2, but just a great year, great group of kids, and congratulations to Coach Rich All and the girls. This is something that you'll remember for the rest of your life, so we're very proud of you.
Final four, right?
Yep.
I have nothing. So, we do have a need for executive session to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health rather than professional competence of an individual, or to discuss the discipline or dismissal of, or complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual. We will return from executive session only to adjourn our regular scheduled meeting, and this will require a roll call vote.
In favor?
In favor?
In favor?
In favor.
In favor. Thank you and have a good night.